Welcome back to the QM SAP S/4HANA series. In this session, we'll discuss about the master recipe or routings in QM. Again, these are two different options, but depending on the type of manufacturing that the customer or the company is using, we might need to interact with the master recipe or with the routing, or with both. Type of manufacturing that we're using. We could be using discrete manufacturing, for example, even repetitive. We can use routings. On the other hand, if we're using API, we will need master recipes. Those two type, let's say, task lists can be used by QM, integrating QM into phases and operations depending on the type of manufacturing. Okay, so in this session, we will review the two types of objects, say, or task lists, and we will discuss how to integrate QM there. We will see this in a specific video for QM in production in more detail, but we can have a glimpse of that in this session. Okay, so let's go to logistics. Let's start with the routing first. So let's go to production. We have master data. We have routings. Let's open one standard route. Okay. For example, let's pick up this one just to display. Actually, we might want to do it, change. Okay, so 2601 for 1710 plant. Let's see what we have. Okay, basically we have two. The group counter means the combination of the group and the group counter. It's one, okay? So as you can see, it's the same group, but with another counter. So this is the second one, okay? So normally in the production version, in PP, we can tell the system which of these 2 or 3 or whatever number you have of master recipes you will be using, okay? So let's open the first one. So this is basically a routing. So we have operations. We have work center where this operation will take place. In this case, it's the bottle washing, for example, filling and capping and packing. Okay, so we have three work centers, different work centers, I would say. Okay. Besides that, of course, we have a plant, but the plant was coming because we created this routing, or in this case, we opened routing, but the routing that basically was created for this plant. That's why you have the folded this plant here. And we have to assign a control key. Okay. So one thing to mention though is that when we're talking about integrating Q1, we will see many details in the specific video, but basically is for the in-process inspection type, CO3. Okay, so that's the one we want to integrate into this task list, in this case, this routing. Okay, because for others, we need an inspection plan that we will see in another video as well. Okay, so basically, how can we integrate QM? Well, there are two ways. One is basically we can use one control key that uses, let's say, QM or allows QM, okay? Or we can create a specific operation for QM. Okay, so two ways of doing it. I will show you the first one. I will show you the different control key that we can have. For example, the one that's there, it's PP01. Okay, so let's search for PP01 here, beyond PP01. Let's choose detailed information. It allows scheduling, because we need to schedule the production order in this case, the determination of capacity requirements. Okay, you will calculate the capacity that is required for this specific, one specific, let's say, production order. That will depend on the quantity you want to produce, okay, and the data that you set up in this routing in terms of how long it takes to produce certain quantity. See, so with this, the system can calculate the capacity required, okay, how many hours we need. Then it allows costing, because you need costing always for production orders, okay? And we don't the inspection characteristic required, okay? So this is the change we need in order to allow a master inspection characteristic or more than one to be assigned as a QM process as well here, okay? So normally we can define that in the specific control keys, okay, that allows that. We can modify this, okay. In general, if you're going to do that, this can be done with PD consultant, okay. But basically, it's just changing the inspection characteristic required in the specification, or creating a new one combined for QM as well. Okay, this is one way of doing this. See if I have another one open. No, I don't. So open a new window here. Go to Spiral. To production. Quality management. Production. Should be inside the operation. Yes, there you are. Define control keys. So we said that we have PP, this one. You double click. You can check here, okay? But again, normally what we do, right, it's to copy and create a new one. Let me just check if there is, in case there is one already created, maybe we can just reuse it. Routing in-house production, check. Just double click on this one. No, this one is not working. Okay, no problem. Let's create a new one. So PP01, okay. We go to copy, and then we quickly go to replace the name, okay. Since the ZP01 is already created, let me put something like this, okay. So we know this is a routing, terminal proc, with I want me to reduce okay, so we have QM now, okay, so let me just click here. So we are allowing through this control key to add characteristic to that operation, okay, just save it. Okay, it's here now, save it again. Okay. Perfect. So let's go. For me to close this probably. And need to open it again. Go to the button. It's ZP. Now we need to find the ZPQ1. Okay, so ZPQ1 now has the information, the inspection characteristic required now. Okay, so I just copied the other one, the standard, let's say, and I just added this one to allow me to add characteristics. Before choosing that, I will show you. I will select this. Okay, and inspection characteristics. Okay, this is the place where we go. But in order to make it mandatory, to be sure we're adding that, right? We need to select the master inspection characteristic as mandatory. Okay, so we're gonna select the new one. And then I go here to master inspection characteristics. Okay. Let me select one master inspection. It will be just randomly selected. It's just for the sake of showing you. It's not necessarily the one needed for this specific material, but let's assume we're doing kind of a visual inspection. Okay. So it will require a simple procedure, and just press enter, and then we are requested to add a sample procedure here. Let's select just the fixed one, and that's it. Okay, so we have a linked characteristic, okay, and we can go back now, go to the operations, and we can save it, okay? This is one way of doing it, as I mentioned before. But we also have another one, which is similar. Okay, but in this case, what I'm going to do is just to select the standard here. So we'll go back to the original SPP, SPP01. Okay, PP01. But in this case, I'm going to add a new operation for UM. Okay, so category, I think it should be for labor. Yeah, labor. Yeah, QC lab. And now, for QC lab, we will use standard UM control key. SPQ1, JPSQ. Here it is. Okay, so this one is very standard, and typically this is the one that it's used. Since this is a specific operation, this is the only thing we need for inspection characteristics. Okay, we might need, if we want, to add costs as well, if we want. Okay, so in that case, we need to whether choose one that has, this is for confirmation, in case we need to add cost, we also need to confirm, and so on. But let's keep it simple this time. It's going to be just master inspection characteristics there. Okay, so let me just select that one, 101. And here we need to, we can add text that it's already defined, right? And we are asked for how long will it take. Let's assume it will take 10 minutes. Okay, so we have now text that's coming from this standard text. Okay, that's a second way of doing this. I think I will leave this one, and I will add the characteristic here. It should be there, yeah. standard procedure. I would put it because otherwise it will ask me. Excellent. You can go back. So now we have a specific operation for QM with inspection characteristic required. Okay. Save it. Let me check what is wrong. I think we need to go to, yeah, here, let me do it again. Oh, yes, okay, so it is clear. Conflicts in, yes. Okay, let me just go back. Basically, here, what we have done is to add characteristics in this operation, and there is no requirement for that. Okay, that's why we need to remove the one we added, okay, before. You just delete that line and save it. Okay, it's done. We can just go back. And see. Okay, here's where we have the characteristic now at this level, or this operation, in the operation 40, that is specific for QM. So in summary, we can have it in a specific operation, or we can have it in production operation, but allowing the master inspections to be there. Okay, so that's this is covering the routing. Okay, but we need also to check the same thing in master recipes. So for master recipes, the transaction is C201 to create, or 202 to edit. Okay, but basically, yeah, master recipes. It's master recipes. Here, C201, C202. Let's see if we can open. There are two ways to access a master recipe. If you know the recipe group and the recipe counter, you can put it here. Both of them should be, or not both, or the material. Okay, so let me see if I can find a material to check for a master recipe. Okay, so I have one. Let's do CP and 1710. That's the plot. Presenter here. We have two in this case. I will just double click in one of them. And we have following situation here. This is more related to BP, but it's important to understand anyway the way master recipe works. Okay, so in the master recipe, we will see operations and we will see phases. Okay, one operation can have multiple phases, and also we can have multiple operations. For example, this is an operation. How can I tell this is an operation? Because there are two columns. One, let me open this one here. This is the operation number, and there is a phase indicator. Okay, so if we have an operation without a phase indicator, this is a pure operation. Once we have a ticket here, right, in the phase indicator, this means this is not an operation, rather it's rather a phase. Okay. The other thing you can tell is because you will need the superior operation here. Okay, because when we are creating, we will do that here. So you will understand. But basically what it's saying here is that 20 is part of the 10. Okay, and then we have 30. Then 40 is part of the 30, and 50 is part of a 30, so you can see it here, okay? There is it's very common to use a different approach so you can tell it's part of the same operation, okay? As a PP, I would suggest, for example, to put something like this, okay, instead of 10. So you know 10, 11, 12, whatever it is, it's going to be part of a 10, okay? And then you have 40, instead of 40, you can have 31, and you can have 32, okay? So this is more readable. So you know this face belongs to this one, and these two faces belong to this one, okay? This is an advice. Okay, it doesn't hurt. I mean, it's just nomenclature, right? So it's an easy way to read this. Okay, so again, in QM, we can integrate with PPPI, which is Process Industries Production Planning. We can integrate it, adding a phase here with a control key that allows master inspection characteristics, okay? Or we can add a specific key, okay, for QM in another operation. Actually, we have three ways of doing it, okay? Since we have the chance to put into the same operation the specific QM, I'm going to show you right now what I'm trying to say here. I mean, the first one, you know, right? It's the same operation. You can just choose a PPQM integrated. It means the characteristic is used, okay? Need to reconnect. Okay, I'm back. I have just reconnected. Okay, so basically what I was saying is that we can just put the hybrid here, right? Depending on the requirements for production as well, of course. Or a simple way is to create a new phase, 33, phase 00, 30, right? And we can choose. We cannot put on different resource, okay? The resources here, as you can see, are grayed out, means that it's coming from the operation, okay? So all the phases will share the same resource that is coming from the operations. So this gives me a new possibility of if we really need to put the laboratory, for example, resource, right? We need to create a new operation for the laboratory with a new phase, okay? But this time I'm showing you now using a production operation, but adding a QM phase, okay? So let me just type in just to save some time because we already saw that the QM01 is there, right? Again, we can use a standard key here for text, okay? Or we can type in anything here, okay? Let me just do the other way so you know that this can be done. So quality, instead of operation, we will call it phase, okay? And we need to put probably minutes. Let's put 10. And we will select. And we need to go to quality characteristics, inspection characteristic in this case. Okay, this is a different icon though, but same purpose. Okay, I'm gonna just assign the same one, just for the sake of understanding the way this works. Then if we need to use these products specifically we will come back and undo the changes, the necessary changes. Okay, I think it's just present here. Perfect. So we have a specific phase for QM, okay, to do the control. Okay. We will add now, this is not common, right? But I'm just going to do it for the sake of understanding the other way of doing it, which is basically, I will say, okay, this is a phase. I'm sorry, this is an operation, okay? And I will create a phase. So 060 will depend on 60, okay? And this one will be Q01. Okay? Existing operation. Okay, so looks like it's not accepting this separation. Let me just delete. I've anticipated. I should have. Okay, so assume it was the 030. Okay, the problem with this is that the 60 as an operation, we need to put the resource. Okay. Let me put the Q quality control resource. I think it's QC. No, not configuring, sorry. It's configuring 3. Wait. Okay. It's not 3, it's 000, sorry. Yeah, QC lab. See? Okay, so once I define this, this operation got created, okay? So what I can do here, since this is already assigned, okay, I cannot change it now. So what I'm gonna do is just to delete this one, just remove this one. I will delete this one. Now I'm gonna rename this one. Keep in mind that now 60 exists because I already assigned a resource. Okay, so now I can say this belongs to 0060. Okay, this will be shared here, and I can put Q101 here. Okay, it's asking me, it's 15 minutes, and that's it. Okay, so now we have the phase 61 that belongs to operation 60. The other thing we need to do, because if we don't do that, it will come up with a message that we are not putting any characteristic here. Okay, so we need to put some characteristics. In this case, again, this does not make sense. Okay, because we should put this into only one. Okay, or if we use more than one, it's valid. Okay. But it should be a different characteristic, of course, right? So, for example, you will be doing here in inspection, right? In the process, you are correcting a pH, so you want to be sure that pH is in the right range, for example, right? Or you need to measure temperature, right? So at the last point, maybe you want to do it again, right? Because maybe there was a change, chemical change in between. So you want that final one. So maybe in this case, it makes sense, right? So you have a kind of in process in the middle of the process and in process almost at the end of a process. Okay, keep in mind that everything you do here from the QM perspective is always in process, okay, because the product has not been received yet. Okay, that's the main difference. Once the product is received, the system will do a one-on-one movement, and we will need another inspection type, which is 04 for goods received from production, and that will be an inspection log that specifically for the good received, but requires an inspection plan. Okay, we cannot use them as the recipe to do the good receive inspection time 04. This is for the 03, okay, in process. Okay, do not get confused. So regardless in what stage you're doing from the process, all that, even the last one like this, is in process. Okay, that's an important topic to understand.